Karen Shinsky. I'm a press officer with the DEP. For those of you who don't know me, I think many of our reporter partners do. Again, thank you for joining us and coming to hear some remarks by Steve Domber, our state geologist, and Bill Donnelly, our New Jersey Forest Fire Service chief. They will be giving you an overview today of what's going on with New Jersey entering drought watch status and also the elevated risk that we have across the state for wildfire. And both of them will also present this information to you in a context of how and why it's important for the public to take precautions and what kind of common sense things they can do for both preventing the risk of wildfire in their communities and on their properties, and common sense basic water conservation steps they can take voluntarily to help us while we are in drought watch status. So you are aware today's presentation is being recorded, and I will do my best to get a link to those of you who request it. The link should be available later this afternoon. I am unable to give you a specific time, but we are going to do everything we can to get it to you this afternoon. Just a little housekeeping. After our presentation by our speakers today, we'll do a hand raise for media who have questions. We do have a good number of you on the call. So what we'd like to do is to make sure those of you who do have questions, everybody gets a first chance to ask a question, and then we can circle back for follow-ups. So with that, again, most of our media partners today are broadcast, so please do keep yourselves muted so we can get good audio for everyone. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to, again, our state geologist, Steve Domber, and then Steve will turn it over to Bill Donnelly, who is chief of our New Jersey State Forest Fire Service. With that, it's all yours, Steve.
All right. Thank you, Karen. Welcome, everyone. I'm Steve Domber, the New Jersey State Geologist. I want to talk to you a little bit about the water supply conditions across the state. So as we're all aware, New Jersey's been dry. 4 of the last 5 months have seen below average precipitation. September was 3 inches below normal, making it the 3rd driest in recorded history. And we've had almost no rain in October. We've also had above average temperatures all year long. And both of those conditions, the dry and the warm, lead to low supply, lower, less supply, and high demand. The good news, we had a lot of rain in August. That got us through the peak summer demand season. But since then, it's been dry. And so with little to no forecasted precipitation in the next couple of weeks, New Jersey decided it was appropriate to enter a drought watch. So we issued a statewide drought watch on Thursday of last week. Watch does not require mandatory reductions, but actions that the public and the businesses take now will delay or prevent the need for further action in the future. So it's really important that our residents and businesses think about limiting or reducing outdoor water use, looking and reducing leaks within and around the house, cutting your lawn higher to prevent more root growth. And also to look for, use commercial car washes, not to use water, hose water on pavement around your yard and house. So again, we need multiple months of normal to above average precipitation to get out of this situation. But our water supply systems are designed to handle periodic stresses. But we felt it was appropriate at the state to take the statewide drought notification action at this point. So it's dry, continues to stay dry. And we're looking for public support to reduce unnecessary water use to prevent further actions in the future. Thank you very much, and I'll turn it over to Bill.
Good afternoon. My name is Bill Donnelly. I'm the chief of the New Jersey Forest Fire Service. Welcome. Well, what we're going to talk about today is how dry it is when it comes to forest fires. and the potential and threat that's there as a result of this dryness. We use a variety of number indices. Day by day, things are monitored, and fire behavior, our fire weather, things like that. We have numbers right now that basically no one in the agencies really had the opportunity to see over their career. Not that we're breaking world records here, but the folks that are in place now, and you talk to some of the old timers and stuff like that, they don't recall being this dry anytime over the last few years. We've had a rash of fires. We are in our fire season, though. We are in our fall fire season, which typically runs mid-October through mid-November. Just as some statistics, last week alone, we had 107 fires for a total of 183 acres. For the year, we're sitting on 917 fires as of today. Of those 917 fires, 4 of them were major fires, which burned in excess of 100 acres. Currently, we have a fire in northern New Jersey that is 77 acres, 70% contained. Folks up there have been working on it the last couple of days, and our expectation is to have it contained by the end of the day. That fire, crews are making good progress. Originally, there were 30 homes threatened. As it stands right now, there's 13. And when I say threatened, they're just in the area of the fire. I don't necessarily believe it's going to be any sort of a problem for the folks that are up there. We had no evacuations, and Jacobs Road, for anybody's from up that way there, it's Rockaway Township in Morris County. That road is closed. We've taken some additional precautions based on the numbers that we work with. We've banned all open burning in the state of New Jersey, both recreational and agricultural. Our folks are on the road in a patrol status. We have additional staffing on the road as well. Our fire towers are all staffed, keeping an eye on things, and we're providing for a rapid response in the event that the folks in the tower spot any fires. That's basically what we're doing, what we've been dealing with. Not sure if there's any questions.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Steve. At this point, for our media partners who do have questions, please use the raise your hand function and we'll go in order. And again, we do have quite a few of you on the call, so we would appreciate if people would ask one question for now, and then we will absolutely circle back for follow-ups. We have an hour slotted for this. So I'm going to go to Ken Burns, who had his hand up first, and then I'll go to Trish and Vanessa and anyone beyond that. So Ken Burns, you can unmute and go ahead.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
It might be a bigger question than expected, but any commentary or any insight in regards to how climate change is playing in on this situation?
So I will point you to the recently released statewide water supply plan, where we did a big look at changing climate and impacts on water availability. And the answer is that yes, there is some, but we need to do some more research, particularly about the drought topic, precipitation, more intense events. And the question, the corollary is, do we see more dry periods? Certainly anecdotally, that's what it appears like, but we've actually contracted with Rutgers to do some additional work to help verify that. So there may be, and we've identified that as a research need in our water supply plan. And I believe the link was just shared in the chat for the water supply plan.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Trish Hartman, ABC6.
Hello. Steve, you mentioned earlier that a drought watch was declared for the state on Thursday, and saying that we would need several inches above average over the next few months to get out of this drought watch. What is if we don't see that, if we continue this pattern of dry weather, what is the next step? Like if this does not resolve itself, at what level would there be mandatory water conservation actions that you would ask residents to take?
Sure. So certainly, typically, if we follow the pattern, the sequence, the next step would be a drought warning, and that would allow the department to take some regulatory action with our regulated community. And then the following step would be a drought emergency or a water supply emergency, and that phase of drought would be where mandatory water conservations would be imposed. And we would start with sort of outdoor water use conservation bans or outdoor water use bans initially, and then it can proceed from there. Certainly hope we don't get there. We have a lot of time between now and then when that would happen or might happen. And so what we need is, as I said, several months of, above average precipitation to get there. So it's possible, but we have a ways to go before we get there. Oh, and I'll add too that those warnings or emergencies can be issued statewide or regionally, depending upon how conditions worsen in regions of the state. So it won't necessarily be statewide. It might be region specific if one area fared worse than the other.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Trish. Vanessa Murdoch, CBS.
Good afternoon. A quick follow-up to Trish's question, and I actually have a question for Mr. Donnelly, but just wondering, at what point, how long do you think it takes us to get from now under a watch to a warning if conditions persist as they are today? Any idea?
It's hard to say. It really depends on temperatures and a little bit of precipitation or a lot, but it could be months, maybe sooner. It really depends on what the future weather looks like for us over the next month. We meet weekly to update our indicators. We meet with our internal drought group weekly to discuss conditions and what next steps might be, and then we brief management on those conditions. So we're keeping a close eye on it. NJDrought.org has the latest updates on our condition and information, and that's the best resource to find out where we are and where we're trending.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Donnelly, I'm just curious if you could reflect on the fall fire season so far. I know you talked about the number of acres. How does it compare to an average season to date?
Well, as of right now, I think we're a little bit ahead of where we would normally be this time of year as far as our fall fire season. Typically, that's dependent on what type of precip we get in September. But as of right now, all of our numbers indicate that we are a little busier than we've been over the past few years. And it's just beginning. So if things don't change relatively soon, I tend to believe that we're just going to continue to be busy.
Thank you.
Allie Reed.
Hi there. I believe the last time we spoke was a few months back, and we had spoken about the idea of prescribed burns and how that helps you leading into a wildfire season. We're kind of on that second half now of it, and so can you just talk a little bit more about what you noticed from the prescribed burns that you were able to do this season, how that's helped you get to this point, and then just reiterate again what people can really do to make sure that they're staying safe leading into these next couple of weeks that we're going to be watching this. And then the second half to that would be on a nationwide scale, because we're not just seeing this in New Jersey, but I know that you guys often help crews all across the country. Texas being a place right now, California, Arizona. Are you guys in talks about sending any of your crews or deploying them to other locations in the country right now?
Well,
That was
we'll work
question. Sorry.
backwards. Currently, we have 3 of our engines are out in California, and we have a module of a couple folks down in Virginia assisting with the remnants of the hurricane that came down into Virginia and North Carolina. So we do have some folks out there that are, assisting the other states. Here in New Jersey, as far as the prescribed burns that we did over the winter last year or earlier this year, it's been proven to be very beneficial. There have been a few of our fires that had potential to grow and become major wildfires had that burning not been done. We were fortunately able to stop these fires in those blocks that had burned earlier in the year, under a managed practice. So I would say that so far it's been really beneficial. Now going forward, depending on how much precip, that's going to determine what type of a year we have going forward. But the prescribed burn has been, proven itself once again very beneficial to our cause.
Before we go into follow-ups, is there anyone on the call who has not asked a question yet of our speakers who would like the opportunity to do so? Otherwise, I'll go into follow-ups. Okay, Trish Hartman. Trish, did you have a follow-up question? You have your hand raised.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize it was still raised. I'm good.
Okay. Ken Burns.
Just one question, more of a historical perspective. Where do things stand out as far as history goes with the current drought watch? When was the last one? And how does it stack up compared to past drought watch statuses?
Yeah, so I believe the last drought watch was in 2022, I believe. I think that was more of a summer drought. And then they're consistent, right? Nothing compares equally one-to-one. So they're all a little bit different. Where we're here in a fall drought as opposed to like a spring or summer drought. And so they're difficult. Last time we were in drought watch was 2016-20, or drought warning, excuse me, was 2016-2017. And the last time we were in a drought emergency, I believe, was in 2001 and 2. So they vary in frequency, with the watches and warnings being more frequent than emergencies.
All righty. Thank you very much.
And Ken, if you don't have the news release that we put out last week, I do believe there is a section in the news release that does provide that historical context. So I'll make a note to send you a copy of the release directly as soon as the call is over.
Thanks, Karen.
You're
Great.
welcome. Do we have any other questions from our media partners? Amanda Oglesby, I apologize for putting you on the spot. I do know you joined us a little late. Is there anything that would be helpful for us to possibly go over for you again in case you missed anything?
I was going to ask you for a recording because I'm late. I'm really sorry.
Not a problem, Amanda. We do have some media partners who did join us late. For those who did not hear at the top of the call, I did mention that I am recording this and we will do our best to provide a recording later this afternoon. So if you do want a copy of the recording, just let me know and I'll make sure to get it to you when it's available. Again, last call, does anyone have any questions for our guests? Or is there anything else that Bill or Steve would like to add?
I think, from the forest fire's perspective, we just like to remind everybody to be a little extra careful. It's dry out there. Fires that wouldn't typically start for one reason or another are starting now, whether it's folks mowing lawns and hitting grass or hitting rocks and lighting the grass on fire. We're getting cool nights to where people are burning their wood stoves and they're taking their ashes out and dumping them overnight, even the cigarette butts and things like that. So it's, imperative that folks use a little extra caution when dealing with things like this. You'd be surprised, the silliest things start fires when it gets dry like this. So just ask everybody to be extra careful. And if you see something, make sure you call someone. Like I said, we have burn bans in effect right now. So the typical smoke where you see something coming from you, whether it's your neighbor's yard or coming, you might want to just let somebody know, give us the opportunity to check it out and make sure that it's not going to pose a problem.
Yeah, and then from the drinking water perspective, I would say every little bit helps. So even if each person does their small part, that will add up to be a lot of water savings. and the savings that we make now will prevent further or worse action in the future. So it's really important to hit those low-hanging fruit like outdoor water use. Really is a great time to stop using outdoor water use altogether or use it minimally. And then fixing leaks, whether it's a leaking toilet or a faucet. Again, those drips add up to be a lot of water statewide and really important savings and actions we can take now to prevent further action in the future.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Bill. I would also just like to throw in a plug. Many of our media partners are regulars who cover forest fires or wildfires in the state. Just a reminder that if there is a wildfire of note or large in size, you can always find updates on the Forest Fire Service's social media platforms. You can follow the Forest Fire Service on X at NJDEP Forest Fire. You can also search the New Jersey Forest Fire Service on Facebook. The same posts will go up on both pages. And Steve or Chelsea, can you please refresh my memory? Are there any websites you would like to plug for your programs regarding the Drought Watch or drought information?
Yep, so njdrought.org is the place to go to get all of the latest drought indicators, drought conditions, and drought requirements. So njdrought.org.
Thank you. And last call for any queries. Trish, I see your hand up.
I do have a question this time. And this may be an obvious one, but I've seen different definitions used for this over the years. Can you just, Bill, I guess you'd be the best one. Open burning, what does that include? Campfires, fire pits, stoves? What exactly does that mean that you can't do if there's no open burning?
Well, all the above right now. The only fires that we're allowing are those controlled by propane, whether it's like a gas grill or a gas fireplace. No open fires on the ground, just no open flames in any way that you can't just immediately shut off if necessary. So no charcoal, no fires on the ground, no outside. I guess you see like little tiki torches and things like that. All of that we ask people to avoid using until things change.
Thank you.
Anyone else with questions? Last call. Okay. Well, I'd like to again thank Steve Domber and Bill Donnelly for joining us today, as well as our many media partners who took time out of their day to join us on short notice. As I said, today's session is being recorded, and I will have a link available. Just send me an email, let me know you're looking for a recording, and I'll be happy to get it to you as soon as it's available. Thank you again for joining us, everybody. Have a good day.